A Disney fairy tale takes an unexpected turn as Angelina Jolie takes on the untold story of villain Maleficent. Matt Perrone has the review in this Monday's Movie Musings.
So, we had two interesting movies come to the theater this weekend, A Million Ways to Die in the West and Maleficent. I took in both films, and after a heated debate with Christy Vaughn about which one to review, and by heated debate, I mean she asked me what movie I was reviewing today, and I said A Million Ways to Die, and she said, I think you should do Maleficent. And I said, yes ma'am. So, here's my take on the fairy tale spin-off Maleficent. But if you're patient, at the end, I'll throw in a little Million Ways to Die for you. Our story begins in a faraway land with two kingdoms. One, a kingdom of men led by a power-hungry and corrupt king. The other is the Moor, a beautiful land containing all types of magical creatures. We see Maleficent as a fairy child who learns that a human child has been caught stealing a jewel. We see her fly to meet him, and as she lets him go, we see a bond forming between them. Over time, she matures to become the queen of the Moor, and we see her and the human Stefan growing closer till they share the kiss of true love. Meanwhile, the king has decided to take over the Moor, and we see him lead an army against it. Maleficent spots them coming, and with help from the other guardians, she is able to defeat the army of men and mortally wound the king. As he's dying, the king says that whoever can kill her will become his successor. Stefan goes to the Moor and reconnects with Maleficent, then puts her to sleep, and unable to kill her, he removes her wings and uses them to become king. Upon awakening and discovering his betrayal, Maleficent becomes forlorn and her heart turns to stone. Fast forward several years and the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty begins. King Stefan and the queen have a daughter. They throw a huge celebration. Upon learning of this, Maleficent appears and lays down her curse upon the princess. The movie then plays out as in the fairy tale, but after the princess is taken away from the castle, we see everything from Maleficent's point of view. We see her watching the child grow from afar and waiting for the inevitable 16th birthday. We also see the multi-dimensional levels to this classic villain and see several changes blossom before our very eyes. It's interesting how interesting I found this movie. It's amazing to me that you can look at the other side of the coin and completely swap who you're rooting for. If nothing else, this movie is a great lesson in empathy. I thought they did a good job of showing how she became the way she was. And, of course, it makes you dislike mankind. There's a bit of a twist at the end that's pretty predictable, but at the same time, it still makes you go, aww. Regardless of your personal feelings of her, Angelina Jolie has a depth to her craft that made her perfect for this role. And hey, did you know Dakota Fanning has a little sister? And she's in the movie too. I actually found myself recommending it. Now, for A Million Ways to Die in the West. I really wanted to come in here and say that this movie made Ted look like a Snuggle Bear commercial. But in fact, I didn't find it as vulgar as Ted. I mean, don't get me wrong. There is definitely some vulgarity and choice language, not for the kids. But all in all, it starts off slow, then suddenly you find yourself chuckling, and then you're all the way into full-fledged laughter. The characters are great in this, especially Seth MacFarlane, who keeps downgrading the West like he's lived in our time. Also, Neil Patrick Harris is fantastic as well. I can't tell you which movie I would see over the other because they're made for two different audiences, and you know which one you are. This has been your Monday Movie Musing. Andy, back to you.
Two movies in one. Next thing, he's going to review an entire film festival.
I do what I can.
In 2 minutes. Coming up next, a last look at weather. Stay with us.